On this week's episode of For Real Friday, I want to talk about closing costs. This is a topic people often don't know a lot about because they don't do it that frequently. They usually either think it's way higher or way lower than it actually is. So when it comes to closing costs, the first thing to note is that it varies depending on if you're buying a property or selling a property. I'll break down the difference between the two, but always remember that what I'm talking about is sort of averages. If you decide to buy a $1.5 million home, all of these numbers are likely going to be significantly higher as everything seems to kind of go up as your budget goes up. If you're buying a home, the biggest cost incurred is usually land transfer tax. This is a fee that cannot be tacked onto your mortgage, so you need upfront money for this one, and it is a percentage-based calculation. So the more you spend, the higher your tax is going to be. Something to note, a frequent question I get asked is people find these online calculators for land transfer and they show a provincial line and a municipal line. Unless you're looking in Toronto, you only pay the provincial line. So for example, a $700,000 home in Georgetown, your land transfer fee is $10,475. And that is a fee that you have to pay on closing. If you're a first-time home buyer, you do qualify for that $4,000 rebate at time of closing, so that will definitely help buffer that tax. The other main fee as a buyer is your legal fees. On top of the lawyer's actual fee, there are things like title insurance and disbursements that get added. And on the buying side, you're typically looking about $1,800 to $2,000 for all of that. The other one that sometimes surprises people is the adjustment of the property taxes. Let's say you buy a home and it closes on November 1st. If the sellers have paid their property taxes until the end of the year, you need to credit them for that. So if you're selling a home, your closing costs definitely differ. The nice thing is you don't have to pay land transfer, but you do pay the realtor commissions. So that is probably the main closing cost associated with being a seller. On top of that, your legal fees are a little bit less at $1,200 to $1,300 on average for a sale. There can be some other little closing costs, like if something needs to get paid out, but I find sellers are typically a little less worried and ask less questions about closing costs because most of those things are being paid from the proceeds of the sale, where a buyer kind of feels like it's coming right out of their bank account. The lawyers do a really great job of breaking these costs down, how they'll get paid, where they're gonna come from. So once you have a deal in place, getting in touch with a lawyer to really make sure you have your head wrapped around what your closing costs might be is a really good idea.